Though the MCU had good reason to abruptly cut the Hulk and Black Widow's joint storyline, they missed a good opportunity to give them closure. The studio has come up with plenty of brilliant emotional arcs, but now and then, some decisions fall flat. The Hulk and Black Widow's Avengers. Age of Ultron plot was poorly received, and rightfully so. A romance was introduced between Natasha Romanoff and Bruce Banner in Avengers. Age of Ultron that didn't land as intended. It seemed like the MCU wanted to build some deeper connections between the Avengers, but it just came off as rushed and forced. Because of this, the story was ultimately cut after just one film. It makes sense that the MCU would cut the Hulk and Black Widow's romance storyline if it wasn't received well. However, the fact that it was never addressed again made for an unsatisfactory lack of closure. Beyond some awkward glances in Avengers, Infinity War, and Bruce mourning Natasha's death in Endgame, the storyline has been entirely ignored. Just because Natasha and Bruce's romance didn't end up being the right move didn't mean that the MCU should have ignored their bond entirely. Even without a romance, they were clearly bonded on a platonic level as well. They were teammates and friends, and the studio should have done something with that connection. Avengers. Age of Ultron made a point of showing that Natasha was one of the few people who could get through to Bruce in his Hulk form. They could have continued on with their strong friendship in later movies, and it wouldn't have made the sudden cut of their romance so obvious to the audience. Years after Age of Ultron, the MCU unknowingly introduced a way for the Black Widow and Hulk relationship to be relevant again. At the end of 2022's She-Hulk Attorney at Law, Hulk introduces his son Scar, who was born during his time on Sakaar. It was a random plot that is only made more confusing by thinking back to Age of Ultron. While the Avengers are hiding out at the Bartons in Age of Ultron, Natasha and Bruce have an emotional conversation about having children. Bruce said that he couldn't have children, likely insinuating that he couldn't have a human partner or didn't want to risk his child getting his Hulk genes. Now that he has a son, it makes that conversation confusing since there was no closure. There's been no reference to the conversation since Scar's introduction, nor have any of the remaining Avengers besides Hawkeye shown much of a connection to Natasha since her death. Having Hulk make a passing comment about wishing that Natasha could meet his son or see that they were worthy of a family after all would have been an easy way to close out that arc for good. Scar was only in She-Hulk for a very brief scene, and he hasn't appeared or been referenced in the MCU since. The studio wouldn't have introduced him for no reason, and it's clear they want to set him up as the legacy hero who will take over the Hulk mantle. However, he's already forgettable in the eyes of the audience. His introduction should have emphasized what Scar meant to his father, but we barely got a sense of that. It's hard for fans to care about a character that barely seems important to the story. With not much to work with beyond his lackluster first appearance, it'll be interesting to see what the MCU's exact plan is.